Welcome back to the channel. Another big episode. It's kind of funny one because it's been a winter break's coming up. We've had our winter break. We are going to be back now twice a week of the 12-man podcast. Obviously over Christmas and stuff, it was kind of broken up. FA Cup this week we combined into one show. So from now on, we will be back with 2 shows a week. I'll be back on Thursday night or Friday night to discuss the weekend's games. There was a few people asking me, I was only going to do one show, but now we will be doing 2. So coming up on tonight's show, we're going to be looking back at the Liverpool and Arsenal game at the weekend, where Liverpool ran out 2-0 winners, where Arsenal were pretty wasteful. Liverpool were ruthless when it came. Liverpool have been lacking that ruthlessness over the last few games up until that Newcastle game in the second half, and they seem to have got their right back in front of the goal. Arsenal at the minute, 1 shot from 63 games, but where is it going wrong? As a bad luck, as a lack of quality. We'll be looking also at the FA Cup, all our talking points, including VAR, not used in some games. Should, if a competition's only got some games that can use VAR, should all games not have VAR to make it fair and integral? We'll be looking at the FA Cup draw as well, which paired Spurs and Man City in a titanic clash. Chelsea also playing Villa. So does that leave the door open for Liverpool again? They rule in another domestic trophy. We'll be looking as well at weekend's games, including Man United against Spurs, the headline act. Obviously, the winter break, so there's only 5 games this weekend and 5 games next week. We'll be asking Owen, we'll be asking the viewers, is that enough? 1 weekend off compared to some of the other leagues that have 2-3 weeks off. We've seen Harry Kane enjoying a Christmas holiday with his family in Germany. It's not something that we get here in England. Only 1 weekend off. And a lot of teams are involved in replays, or as Owen's team, Liverpool, involved in League Cup action as well. So some teams don't have much of a break at all. We'll be analysing that as well. So Owen, how are you? I mean, I said we'll do the show on Tuesday if Liverpool won, because I didn't think Liverpool were going to win. And Liverpool go to Arsenal with, let's be honest, not their full strength team. Arsenal were near enough at full strength, bar injury. 2 players that are already been out. They've only really Nelson come on for Martinelli, but I think, to be honest, Arteta was just trying to change it up. I don't think he left Martinelli out to rest him. So, yeah. I mean, impressive result going to Arsenal. We'll talk about the game, but how are you feeling?
I'm happy enough. Like, top of the league, top of a Europa League group, next round of the FA Cup, semi-final of a League Cup. I couldn't have gone much better so far this season. Hopefully now we can beat Fulham tomorrow night, so the second leg doesn't really matter. So, as far as things are going at the minute, I'm pretty happy.
It's shaping up to be an exciting season for Liverpool. I mean, GC cruised on the Europa League, don't they? Play in that, they March, and they'll have a favourable draw because they'll have the second leg at home. They'll play a team out of the playoff section. You know, so really they shouldn't meet anyone that they might worry about until the quarterfinal, which may again allow them to rotate slightly in that next round.
The only team I'm worrying about is Leverkusen. Any other team, I think we should beat.
Leverkusen are straight through as well, but you can't play them the quarterfinal, I believe.
I think if it's up to me now, it's a Liverpool Leverkusen final. That's the only way I see it at the minute.
Alonso, that could be the factor. GC League Cup, the big game against Fulham tomorrow night. And I think that's significant because they'll want to try and get a hefty advantage. They wouldn't want to be going to Craven Cottage with a tie in the balance. We know it's a difficult place to go sometimes. Fulham fans will be right up for it. They haven't had a big cup semi-final for a long time. So they'll be definitely up for that. So I think it's key for Liverpool tomorrow night. They get a good advantage going there. So you say FA Cup and the next round, favourable draw, which we'll speak about, and top of the league. So, I mean, it's all looking really, really good for Liverpool in 2024. I mean, he's been in this position before, only a few seasons ago. I mean, they won the 2 domestic trophies. They came second in the league by 1 point and lost the Champions League final. So they are used to it. Maybe not all the players, but some of the players. But unfortunately, the downside of this, and we will speak about it, Owen, shortly, is it does sometimes bring more injuries. And Liverpool have had a couple of setbacks this week. So we'll come on to speak about that later on. But let's focus on the game at the weekend. I mean, Arsenal started like a house on fire, but they didn't take their chances, and Liverpool punished them. I mean, no Van Dijk, no Salah. Obviously, there's other players missing, but I want to highlight them 2 in particular because I would say outfield, they're your 2 most important players. Did that show that it's not all about Salah and Van Dijk, and this Liverpool team have got a strong squad, and they can go to places like Arsenal and win.
I mean, you could say that, but then on the flip side, we should have been about 4-0 down at halftime. So if Arsenal had taken their chances, nobody would have been talking about no Salah or no Van Dijk, or they would have been, but they would have been talking about it in the negative
But
sense.
that's the fine margins in football. Do you look
Yeah.
at that from a point of view of, do you know what, it shows that Liverpool have a strong squad and that they can win without their best players, or is it down to they were fortunate that Arsenal were so poor in front of goal, and
Probably a bit of both.
really in that first half, it showed how much they do miss Van Dijk at the back because they were all over the place. Midfield, they were being run over without McAllister. Without Endo in midfield. Sorry, McAllister is probably a better player than Endo technically, but Endo in that role probably is a better player. So he looked like
Yeah.
he was a miss in the first half. And as
To
you
be
say on
fair,
that on the right wing, Elliot, he's moved on the midfield in the second half, and we'll speak about that. But Elliot and Salah, it's a mismatch in terms of quality.
Yeah.
So I mean, how did you assess the basically that point of strong squad can win without them boys, or do you know what? On another day, we'll be sitting here thinking we're really in trouble without Salah and Van Dijk.
a bit of both, really. Like it shows that we can win without them, but when they're not there, it shows the weaknesses in our squad. Like we had, to be fair, I think our defense in the second half did all right. I thought Konate was excellent on Sunday, and I thought Kwanzaa was he didn't have his best game, but he's a young lad and he's going to get more chances. But I definitely think I'm confident going into these next games that we can win them without Salah and Van Dijk. But we'll go on to speak about it. Now we're missing another key player for them next couple of games, and for me, as much as Salah scores the goals and Van Dijk's Van Dijk, Trent he's the key to our success for me because he's not only a right back. I know in the second half Martinelli runs them a few times, but some of the passes he was doing that game, like it just amazes me how he plays football. Like he's wonderful to watch, and with the next few weeks now with him being out, that could be a different story. But as I was saying to you earlier on, it's a big chance for young Connor Bradley. They step up, and you never know if he plays well in them games. You could think of Klopp. They put Bradley a right back and Trent on the midfield. So we'll see what happens with it.
Let's speak about Trent and the injury. I mean, again, I don't know why he did this. I think he had minor ligament damage, and trust me, if he ligament damage, you know about it. So he was obviously playing through pain, which you could say is a sign of a true warrior. You know, he's all for Liverpool. He's a Liverpool free and free player, but naive as well. When he could have done serious damage and missed the rest of the season if he had really damaged himself.
Yeah.
So I mean, where do you see that? I mean, should Trent really be saying, "Look, I've injured myself and I need to come off," because he's now missing up to possibly 3 crucial games, as you say, 2 against Fulham. Maybe the FA Cup tie, it's been favourable. But I mean, if that had been, say, Liverpool Man City, you know, he didn't know what the draw was going to come out. That could be an hour key game he would have missed. And then you throw him on against Chelsea with a big game at Arsenal coming up a few days later. Some big decisions to be made there. So, I mean, where do you stand on Trent's decision to keep playing on?
I mean, professional footballers are never gonna want to come off. Are they? Like, I think it's the same way Saka. He's been playing through a Achilles injury. I think he's been playing with that for months, and you see his form's fell off a cliff. Like on Sunday, I thought he was terrible. He's crossing, he's shooting. So I can understand why he played for the pain, but as you say, it could have done an ACL or anything like. You don't know, and I think he said after the game he was fine. He expected to be fine and he'd be fit for Wednesday, but it just shows like one wee small tear can derail a season. And to be fair, I think we've got quite lucky with his injury that it is only 3 weeks, and that we have a week off within those 3 weeks. So
the boss lined you back for Chelsea.
Klopp said he should be back. He'll not play tomorrow night, but he should be back for. I think he could be back for Bournemouth. I think, and I think Robertson's coming back. He'll be back for. He'll be back for.
And also big news that Thiago could be back soon. So I mean that's a big twist because we know technically Thiago is up there with the best midfielders around. So I mean,
to be fair, Thiago probably injured himself walking under the grass.
But I mean, if you can get Thiago between now and the end of the season, keep him fit, what a player they bring in.
I can't see Thiago being a starter, like even if he has fit, but even in them, even in them Europa League games, use him in them, and then the big league games, like at home they man. So
He's very talented, but I mean, who if he is fit, he not playing because I mean, he's very, very technically he would be your best midfielder, wouldn't
I don't know. I'd put Trent on there if he plays midfield.
he? Interesting. I mean, just as we're talking about tactical decisions and where they play players, Liverpool, as we say, were under serious pressure in the first half. Klopp gets into half time 0-0, and he changes things around. He brings Elliott in the midfield. Gap goal for me. I think that's a few times I've tried that. For me, just
Yeah,
doesn't suit man. Doesn't
he's
suit
not
them at
in
all.
the
He's too slow on the ball. He can't move quick enough. He's just not built to be a midfielder, especially in the Premier League.
Yeah,
He went out to the left. He went up front. Nunez went to the left. He looked more comfortable on the left because
yeah.
I think a few times he was up against Saliba and Saliba would bully him a wee bit. But he seemed to get more joy off the left against Ben White. Diaz went out to the right. First time we seen him on the right was very, very good. Again, up against the player in Kiwior, who's not an actual left back, and you could see it. And in the end, Elliott done better in midfield, and they seemed to have a bit more control of the game. So, I mean, the Klopp's halftime tactical changes won the game for Liverpool because you can speak about Arsenal missing a lot of chances, but I think if Arsenal had created the same amount of chances again in the second half, then surely they would have put at least one or two of them away. Whereas in the second half, they only had a couple of chances, really. I think about the chance to come into the box where Gabriel probably should have dived down, they header it. Saka put one over the bar from a tight angle. Or not, they didn't open you up the way they did in the first half. So, I mean, there's a lot of credit to go to Klopp for changing it up at halftime.
Well, that's what they say. The manager gets his money in them halftime team talks, and to be fair to him too, he brought on. It wasn't even just the changes of like tactical reasons. He brought on the two young lads. He brought on Bobby Clark and he brought on Connor Bradley and put Trent in the midfield, and I thought that made a big difference because it was only a small cameo, but I thought Connor Bradley was excellent when he came on. I know Arsenal were probably tired, but still, I thought for a young lad to come into a game of that magnitude, I thought
Well,
he did really well.
Martinelli come on, didn't he? And he had a few runs at Trent, and that looked
Yeah,
a problem. And he says, right, let's get Bradley on. And I thought Bradley nullified Martinelli pretty well. I didn't get past
yeah,
him once. Um, Clark looked decent as well. More so Bradley. I think he had more of an impact just because of the fact defensively they looked better when he come on. And with it, sometimes you need a bit of luck. I'm not saying Bradley would have been open for injuries, but he was never going to get into the team without Trent, and these are
no,
players injured. So, I mean, this is the opportunity he needed. It's great from
no,
an Irish perspective. I know he's playing for the North, but still Irish in my eyes. It's great
yeah.
for a player from only an hour and a half up the road, Dungannon, to be getting an opportunity now. And I would fully expect him to be playing up until maybe Shimikas or Robertson comes back, and he might switch Gomez to the right. So he might
Yeah.
have 2 or 3 games on there now. I mean, do you think he's more than ready enough to come on? Because he had a very successful season at Bolton, but we seen last night Wigan in the same league as Bolton were totally outplayed by a team like United who've been struggling all season. United could have scored 7 or 8 last night, really. So I mean,
Yep.
it's a big step up, and it's a big difference between maybe playing 3 90-minute games to coming on and playing for 20 minutes in an FA Cup game.
No, no matter like when Trent's out, no matter who comes in, you're not going to have the same impact as Trent. So we might have to alter the way we play. I don't think we'll be playing that inverted role with Bradley coming in the midfield or Gomez coming in the midfield because I just don't think they have the technical ability to do it. But for Bradley, like you never hope for players to get injured, but for him secretly, he's probably going. You know what? This is my chance now, and we'll. I'm praying he takes it because, as you say, even though he's playing for the North, he's still an Irish lad, and you still want to see them do well. And tell you what, there's no better chance to get it at a big club like Liverpool. And he's come through the ranks, and as you say, even though he had a great season on loan at Bolton that season, I kept an eye on him obviously because I always do better loan players. But as you say, it's a big step up in quality, and if he's going to play a couple of 90-minute games now, it's a big difference for coming on for 15, 20 minutes against a tired Arsenal. But I do think he has the quality to do that.
I mean, let's get back to the first half because Arsenal had a lot of chances, and Liverpool seemed to be at the back, getting caught out, playing out a lot without Van Dijk. Just
Yep.
looked a bit nervous. I think that Alisson was very fortunate with the first goal, with the first chance of the game when it goes over the top. It's almost as if he decided to come out, stopped. I think Nelson could have looked over him, and then he didn't really make a challenge because he probably thought maybe give away a penalty. Again, Nelson overruns the ball. So we got fortunate there. The one where Odegaard hits the bar came from, I think it might have been Kwanzaa playing out from the back, and Saka knocked on and played it across. There's a great block from Kanate. He was outstanding, to be fair, on the game. I know it falls to Odegaard and really he should score. I mean, how fortunate were Liverpool to get into halftime 0-0? I mean, could the game have been over by halftime?
I like if Arsenal had took our chances, it would have been 3-4-5 at halftime. So when we got in 0-0 at halftime, I was very happy because I knew, and I said to you at the time, or you said to me, like, we're not going to come out and play that bad. And I think, as you say, Klopp, credit to Klopp, like he changed it. He put Diaz on the right, Darwin on the left, and then Elliott in the middle. So, or in the centre mid. So I thought them three changes were key because, as you say, our midfield was just getting dominated. Like, McAllister's a great footballer, but he's not a number 6. And when you're up against Declan Rice, even Jorginho, as much as I don't really like him, and Odegaard, like, a player like McAllister's not going to have the quality to stop all them on his own.
I mean, did it show in that first half that McAllister just hasn't, especially in a game away at Arsenal, he's not the man for that kind of role. I mean, you can look, people talk about Endo and maybe not at the level of quality, but, you know, Endo, that is his position. I just think McAllister at times gets caught on the ball a lot, doesn't sense the danger a lot. I mean, it's maybe not his fault because that's not where he plays. So, I mean, how moving forward without Endo, was that a worry that McAllister in that position, he looks, even when you look at him, he just doesn't look right. The playing out of the back looked a wee bit iffy at times. And there is a worrying trend with Liverpool, despite the mid-top of the league. First halves away from home, they seem to be really slow out of the blocks. We think back to the Wolves game, could have been over by halftime. We spoke about the game yesterday, could have been over by halftime. The Crystal Palace game, they were poor, could have been, Alisson made a wonder save. VAR intervened, they overturn a penalty. They've had some butts of good fortune, and you can say it's great. It's great resilience and stuff, and it is to come back after playing so poorly. But it's lucky that teams are missing these chances. It's not down to great defending, or it's not down to, sometimes there's been great saves, but a lot of the times it's been poor finishing. So I mean, between now and the end of the season, they have to rectify that, don't they? They can't be starting first halves so slowly away from home, because when they play at Anfield, that doesn't seem to be a problem.
I think that's because at Anfield, like, the crowd wouldn't let you start so slow. I think that's a factor, but you're right. Like, if we keep starting games away from home so slow, if we come up against, I know we won't play Man City at the Etihad again, but say we did, like, if Man City had the chances Arsenal had, we would have been down 5-0 at halftime.
I'm just thinking about the other games. Brighton, they were poor in the first half. Luton
Man
away,
City
they were
as
poor in
well.
the first half. Man City. So I mean, there is a trend there for whatever reason. They're very slow to the blocks away from home.
I don't know why then, because in the second half we come out like a completely different team. If I remember right, in the Man City game, we were 1-0 down at halftime, and then in the second half, we huffed and puffed them. We got the equaliser, but it's a strange one away from home. We've always had like we under Klopp or under any manager really, we've always been slow away from home, and it's a weird one because I know it's not your home ground and you don't have the majority of fans, but it's the same pitch, it's the same ball. It's like it's a strange one because, as you say, when we play at Anfield, like, we blow teams away sometimes in the first 15-20 minutes, as you seen with Newcastle last week.
Fulham tomorrow night in the Cup. Bournemouth away after the week off. You're in the second part of the winter break. We're not, and then we're not going to. I think they'll be okay in the FA Cup because they're playing. Well, it might even be League One opposition because Bristol Rovers are home against Norwich, who've been struggling.
That's the Kwanzaa Derby here if Bristol Rovers get through.
You could well be a League One opposition, but especially those two games, and possibly the away leg at Fulham as well. So the two games against Fulham and Bournemouth, they could be without Trent, Salah. They will be without Salah, and but they could be without Trent, and they could be without Szoboszlai. Do you worry that there might be a wee bit of lack of creativity in them games because, they're key players missing, and they're probably some of your most creative players, especially when you think about coming from deep. Szoboszlai and Trent would be the two most likely to maybe thread a pass through or go on a run or whip across under the box. Is that a worry moving on to these games that it might be a struggle?
I mean, when you're missing players of the quality of Trent and Szoboszlai and Salah, because as much as we laud Salah's goals, he's very creative as well. Like, he has a good few assists this season. But I think I'm not really worried because I still think we have enough creativity in the team. Like McAllister has an eye for a pass, Elliott has an eye for a pass, Gravenberch if he plays, Curtis Jones. So for me, I still think we have enough quality. Obviously, we don't have the quality of Trent or Salah, but I still think we have enough to get past Fulham and Bournemouth. Like it's more as much as I expect us to beat Chelsea, it's more the Chelsea game I'm looking forward. Going if Trent's not in for that, then I'll be worried. But the Fulham and Bournemouth games, as much as Bournemouth are a good side and Fulham are a good side, I still expect us to have enough to get past them.
Hmm. Let's talk about Arsenal because they're really struggling in front of goal. Crazy statistic: 1 goal from their last 63 shots in the last 3 games. That is, I mean, do you put that down to a lack of quality or bad luck? Because we've seen Liverpool go through a similar spell there recently. We against United and Arsenal, they only scored 1 goal from numerous shots, numerous opportunities.
Yeah.
Um, is this just a moment in time, or do you think Arsenal just have a lack of quality in front of goal?
Probably a bit of both, but it will come together eventually. Like it has to, as you say, with Liverpool, like many shots that we have against Man United, I think it was 35, 36 or something. Against Arsenal, it was similar. But the difference there is because Liverpool have Salah and even the likes of Nunez, and he has the most missed big chances this season. So, and then actually second is Haaland. So, hey, but but no, I just think Arsenal don't have a proper number 9 who's going to get you 10, 20 goals a season. As I've said before, the other teams do. Like Salah's not a striker, but he'll guarantee 20, 30 goals. Even Son will. I just think they need a killer in front of goal because when Havertz, like
But
in
you
that
can
game,
argue with Salah gone, Liverpool don't have that. So I mean, is it down to a lack of quality, or do you think it is just a moment in time, and that they will start to score again shortly? Because it's either one or the other. You're
yeah,
poor in front of goal with them stats, or
yeah.
you're just you've got players out of form, or you're just buying unlucky. I mean, for you, what do you think it is? Because when Liverpool were missing all them chances against United and Arsenal just before Christmas, people were saying that, oh, without Salah, they haven't got reliable goal scorers. But then Diaz bangs one on yesterday from a tight angle. So I
Yeah.
mean, what do you put it down to? I mean, are we
No,
looking too much into the numbers? Or do you think? I mean, because Arsenal, they haven't had a top striker for what 2 3. No, they didn't have a striker last season, and it wasn't an issue.
uh,
And up until the last few games, they were top of the league. So I mean, and it wasn't a massive crowd for a strike. Obviously, people says they could do with one, but it wasn't like a necessary need. 3 games later, everyone's saying they need a striker.
yeah.
So I mean, is it too
No, they're,
is it too overreactive? Do you think?
I mean, Arsenal fans are probably the most overreactive fan base in the world next to Man United fans, to be fair. No shots at anyone there. But, like, no, it is unlucky because they should have enough quality to score goals. Like, I seen some of the chances on Sunday. Like, Havertz was taking too many touches. Odegaard, when he had that shot that hit the bar, he had it far too hard. Like, I don't know why he went for so much power. And then they have the likes of Jesus, who's always injured. But then again, like, you look at them players like Jesus and Havertz, even when Jesus was winning all them leagues with Man City, he was never like a 20, 25 goal a season player, and neither was Havertz. So, and it could come down to, you're saying last season it wasn't a problem, but uh, Arteta sort of changed his style a bit too this season. The wingers aren't sort of getting, Saka and Martinelli as well, they haven't been as creative or as like good in front of goal this season. So it could come down to all the tactical changes Arteta's making, and that can unsettle a side. And as we've seen already, like they've dropped what I think they're probably worse now, but I think it's a 15 points worse off than last season. Is it? Or more than that?
13, I believe 13.
13. So
Mm.
for me, it's either one or two things. They're either unlucky or the changes Arteta's made to the team too doesn't help.
You think we'll learn more about it over the next few games?
Who do they have next? I don't even.
Well, they've got Palace. They play the same break, so they don't have a game till they play Palace now. So they're on that 2 week break. Because they're not in cup action this week, and they've no replay, they'll not play a game. until they play Palace. So they've got a full 2-week break, which may help because I hear they're going to Dubai for some training. It may be a good time to get away. But as you say, we probably will learn more. I think it's Palace, then Forest, and then Liverpool. Yep. I mean, I think already, and it's not a given, but if they were to beat Palace and Forest away, which will be difficult, but if they were to win them 2 games, if Liverpool won their 2 games, you would almost say that Arsenal can't afford to lose that game at the Emirates because they'd be 8 points behind Liverpool, and you would feel then that it's going to be too much they bring back. But obviously this season it's flip-flopped so often. So, I mean, you couldn't hang your hat on both Liverpool and Arsenal winning their 2 games before they play each other because we just know this league this year. It's crazy.
No, that's like even Man City. I know they have De Bruyne back now and Haaland, so you can't go even into their games thinking they probably will, but you wouldn't. I wouldn't be shocked to see Brentford get a result. Well, probably would, but like, you know what I mean? It's that type of league where they were 1-0 down against Luton, and we were 1-0 down against Luton. So it's a mad league this season, and I don't know what that's done to be fair, lack of quality, teams just taking points off each other. Like you see me Newcastle last season, that like they were one of the best teams in the league last season, and they've struggled this season.
It's a topsy-turvy season. How can you not hang your hat on us? We've lost 1 game in the league. Well, he's had a fair few draws, Callum. That's what I'm saying. Wouldn't shock me if they were to draw away at Bournemouth, for example. Drew away at Luton, drew away at Brighton.
To be fair, that one league game we did lose was an absolute joke. But we're not.
But I didn't say lose. I said not won both. You know, I think Bournemouth is a difficult game, especially with players missing. Bournemouth have been pretty strong recently. I don't think that's a gimme. I think Liverpool, if they turn up there and play well, if they don't, they could definitely drop points. So I would say lose. If you wind it back if you want, but
if I was
agreed, expect this. Well, where are you going? So he's gone back on his words there.
What I would say was if you were to hang your hat on any team they won the both, it would be Liverpool over Arsenal for me. I know but like based on the evidence I've seen,
they both have difficult away games on there. I expect Arsenal to beat Palace at home, and I would definitely expect Liverpool to beat Chelsea at home. I think the 2 away games will be the tricky ones. So away Forest, who are rejuvenated under Nuno, and obviously Bournemouth have been flying, especially at home. I think they may have won their last 5 or something at home. So definitely won't be no pushovers. And only reason I say that is because Liverpool's missing a few players as well. I think it's a level.
Fair, even in the Spurs game again, you were at it against Bournemouth.
Bournemouth could have been. They played their football and they probably just lacked a wee bit of quality at times, and that'll be the thing against Liverpool. Quality against the better teams will they be able to do it, but I think the fact that Liverpool are missing a couple makes it an interesting game. I mean, back to Arsenal, Owen, because we talked about Klopp about 10 minutes ago there, how he changed it at half-time. Arteta then, once the game started to even out a bit and Liverpool began to get chances, Arteta didn't make any changes. He didn't even make any changes at 1-0 down. He waited till they were 2-0 down. They make the changes, I believe.
It was a strange one.
It was a strange one. So, I mean, do you think he just showed a wee bit of lack of experience there? I mean, game is drifting. He didn't make any changes. I mean, Klopp made changes just after half-time. Then he made another double change, bringing the 2 youngsters on. Still 0-0 at this time. So, he was trying to affect the game with his bench. Arteta was sticking with what he had on the pitch. You could maybe say fair enough because of the first half performance, but first 20, it began to become very even, and Liverpool were getting more into the game. So Arsenal had lost the control they had in the first half. So for me, I thought he could have made changes at 0-0. He definitely could have made them at 1-0. I mean, how did you see it?
Probably a lack of an experience, and probably the fact that he doesn't trust his bench.
Well, I mean, that's one thing that I was thinking about. I mean, he brought on Trossard and Smith Rowe with 3 minutes to go. I think Nketiah come on with 7 minutes to go. I mean, it's a massive mountain to climb when you're bringing play. I mean, as players, they turn games around with such a little time. Do you think that he's lost the belief in a lot of them squad players? Because you've said that Saka and Martinelli, Jesus, haven't been prolific, yet he persists with them when they're all fit. He did leave Martinelli out in this game, and he brought Nelson in. But he quickly brought Martinelli might have been the first one on. for
I
Nelson.
think I think he brought Martinelli on first.
So I mean, again, it was a like for like change. He didn't try to change it with formation or tactical. So I mean, he brought Trossard in last January. Jorginho did start. That was down to I think all players been injured. He
Yep.
hasn't been playing much. He brought him in last January. Um, Smith Rowe, for some reason, was one of his star men a couple of years ago. He's completely sidelined him. And Keria, he had a new contract, and he brought him in against Fulham. And a lot of Arsenal fans don't see it with Keria, but he persisted, didn't sign a striker in the summer, stuck with Keria. But I think that was the first indicator on Sunday that he's starting to lose that faith that he had in Keria because he left it so late. He didn't bring him on to the very end.
Yeah.
Whereas I believe in our games this season, even when he was on the bench, he was coming on maybe 30 months ago.
Now they get a goal.
Yeah, maybe another sign that he's lost the fifth there. So, I mean, do you think the players that he's playing with are basically only ones now he believes are good enough because he's not using that bench like he has done in the past?
As you said, like he was bringing in Gary on in recent games with 20, 30 minutes to go to try and make a goal, and he didn't bring him on with 7 minutes to go. And as for Smith Rowe, I just think he was one of his boys when he first came in. And to be fair to Smith Rowe, he's had a nightmare with injuries, but he's been fit now for a while. He's been fit now for a while, and Arteta just doesn't seem to trust him. And as for Trossard, that's a strange one because as we said there, he brought him in last January and he's done well like for Arsenal, I think. But I just
you
think
have to question his recruitment now, but would you? Because a lot of the players that are coming in, they're maybe having the odd game here and there, but consistent wise, Trossard has never really forced himself into the starting 11, and Keria has been in and out of the team. Havertz has been shifted from midfield to the forward line.
That's the one for me that just
and out of the team. And he was having such a poor game on Sunday, and he lasted 88 minutes before he was took off. So I mean, has he got some of the big decisions wrong? Because I mean, we talked about the striker aspect. I think everyone in the summer believed Arsenal would sign a striker. He spent 65 million on Havertz, who has played as a striker, but would never really call him a striker. I'm not sure what his best position is. So again, that's a head scratcher. Chelsea fans couldn't believe that Arsenal come in and paid the money they did. So I mean, and then the other thing is Ramsdale, who I thought had a good game on Saturday or sorry on Sunday, almost had an assist in the first couple of minutes. Made a good save just before the first goal. And you could argue since Raya's come on, he's done no better than what Ramsdale was producing. So they have to pay the Raya fee now in the summer, around 30 million. Havertz 65, so nearly 100 million spent between them two. Should he have really bought players that they could have used that money for a striker?
The Havertz one for me just doesn't make sense because correct me if I'm wrong, but I think when he brought him in, he said, "Oh no, we're bringing him in as a midfielder. He's a midfielder," but yet he's played most of his games midfield, but he played him up front on Sunday. And the Raya one, like, there's not much difference in him and Ramsdale. And for me, Ramsdale's the better keeper in my opinion. And Raya had a great season with Brentford and all that, but when you're going from Brentford to Arsenal, it's a big step up, like, and it sort of reminds me. Do you mind when we had Manuel and Karius, and we were chopping and changing and chopping and changing? That didn't help either. And then
you could also argue that he let Arsenal's best keeper go to Aston Villa. He spent all this money on the likes of Ramsdale, on Raya. He's went through a couple of sub keepers as well. Leno was there.
Matt Turner was there.
I was reading. This will be his fourth different first choice goalkeeper in Raya, and he's only been there 4 years. And you could argue, as I say, Martinez. If he lined them all up on a line, you'd probably pick Martinez as the best of a lot. So I mean,
100%.
I think a lot of Arsenal fans are starting to question Arteta's decision making. And he seems to be footering about positions that maybe aren't a necessity. And as you say, the Havertz one, it's a killer if I'm in Keria sitting on the bench and Havertz has been signed as a midfielder and, Jesus is injured. Fair enough, he didn't do great against Fulham when he started in Keria, but this is another opportunity and he picks Havertz over him. How are you feeling if you're in Keria?
I know, because you're a designated striker, that's your position, and then it's getting taken by someone who was a so-called midfielder, and it's mad though, because he seems to be overthinking it. But I was arguing with an Arsenal fan on Sunday who said Liverpool don't have Liverpool have the same sort of quality as Arsenal when you take Salah and all that. The other team's like, no, we don't. it's but it's mad though because Arteta just seems to be overthinking it. Like last season, it was everything was going so smoothly, and he's just sort of rocked the boat this season. And you see sometimes on the pitch, I think it was against Fulham. Rice was arguing with Gabriel. Gabriel was arguing with someone else.
I do think you're onto something there because you could now see. I seen the way that the Arsenal players reacted to the Ramsdale save. They all went over and hugged him, kind of like, maybe some of the players are questioning the decision they leave the Ramsdale decision. Do you think there's a possibility Arteta could upset the harmony in the group because there doesn't seem to be that unity that they had last year? Remember when they were people were questioning with their celebrations and the celebration police after every game? It was almost as if they won a cup. And they were criticised for that, but you could see that was great harmony in the group. We haven't really seen that this season. Has Arteta possibly upset that with the many changes he's making to the style of play, bringing players on that maybe aren't needed, and not strengthening the areas of the squad that maybe the players feel need strengthened?
You made a good point there about like when Ramsdale made that save against, I think it was Diaz. It was Diaz. All the players went out and hugged him and they were high-fiving him, probably to give him a bit of confidence too, because to be fair, he was Arsenal's number one all last season, and I don't think he made any particular clangers that I can remember.
A couple of dodgy games, I mean, he made a couple of ones, but he made up for them with some of the saves. I remember the Liverpool Anfield game.
I was just going to come on to that. Like if it wasn't for Ramsdale in that game at Anfield, we would have won that game 3-2 when we came back from.
And I remember they absolutely battered Spurs at our place 2-0, but Ramsdale made 2 or 3 big saves in the game. That was an hour game. He was key to them. So I think it was harsh. And I think if you are going to bring a goalkeeper on, he's got to be better than the goalkeeper you're bringing them on, and it hasn't really worked.
Like when Liverpool brought on Allison, they replaced Manuel and Karius. You knew straight away that it was going to be a top quality keeper. I don't think Ramsdale is a good keeper, but I think out of the 2 keepers that Arsenal have, neither of them are top keepers.
Callum's asking a question. I'll let you answer it here. Could you say last year was an overachievement and this year is a more realistic view of the squad? Do you think Arsenal overachieved last year with the players they had, and this is probably where they are in terms of quality, fighting for top 4?
Because to be fair, I can't remember what I predicted last year. I think I predicted Liverpool. They won the league, and we all know how that went. But
I predicted they won the league again this year, so.
But it's going a bit better this year. But no, Callum could be on to something there. It's like nobody expected Arsenal to be up challenging for the title last season, and I think this year it is probably a realistic view of where they are. But when you go out and spend 100 million on Declan Rice, people are thinking, right, that's the missing piece they need to really push on. But for me, as much as Rice has been a transformative signing, they should have just went out and put 100 million on a striker for me instead of 100 million on a DM.
Yeah, closing thoughts on Arsenal and Liverpool. Before we move on, funny enough, these 2 teams were rivals. It seemed only 2 weeks ago, and as we said in football, a lot can change, and it could still change if Liverpool were to have a slip up against Bournemouth or Chelsea. Arsenal get 6 points and then beat Liverpool at home. We may be having a very different conversation, but at the moment we have to judge on what we see. What do you think the club's aim should be between now and the end of the season?
For Liverpool, it should be going on. They won the league, and for Arsenal, it should just be keeping an eye on the teams below you as we're sitting here now, because Spurs are only a point behind them.
Well, that's it. I'm hearing Arsenal fans saying we're only 5 points off the top, but they're only 1 point ahead of Spurs, so they're closer to 5th than they are to 1st.
Yep.
I mean,
for me as a Liverpool fan, like our aim should be going to win every competition that we're in. I know we probably won't, but we should try and go for everything.
How possible do you think it is for Liverpool to win all 4 trophies that they're competing for?
Nah, I don't think we'll go for all 4. I think I've predicted as they won the league, and I'm sticking to that. But I think,
well, let's just play a bit of a game here, because you could say that was beyond the realms there, but I think that FA Cup draw has been very favourable to Liverpool. I mean, if Spurs were to knock Man City out of that, which is possible, and if you look at Man City's record at the Spurs Stadium, You
It's
could
not
argue
great.
that Spurs are possibly favourites for this game. The fact that they haven't
Yeah.
scored a goal in the 5 games they've played there, they've lost all 5 psychologically. I don't care what anyone says. People say about maybe, like, for example, when Spurs go to Anfield and places like that, they've never don't usually do well there. That plays on the minds of the players.
Yeah.
And a lot of them Man City players have bad experiences at the Spurs stadium. So psychologically, they have to overcome that. They're a quality team, a strong mentality. There's no question they can do it. But I mean, that for me is a 50-50 tie, and especially with Spurs going to be
Yeah.
getting most of their players back. And you could argue that Spurs, with Man City having to get back in the title, you could argue that's a more important game for Spurs because they're so desperate they want a trophy, and they
Yeah.
haven't really got anything else they focus on, bar maybe top 4. Man City have the Champions League to worry about, and so on and so forth. So
Well, you said
if Villa were to go and knock out Chelsea, or Chelsea knock out Villa, Fulham could possibly knock Newcastle out. Liverpool could be sitting in a very comfortable position in an FA Cup.
Well, you said to me yesterday, if Spurs knock out City, you expect it to be a Liverpool Spurs final.
Well, if they don't meet, they could meet. I'm saying if they don't meet, I said that could possibly be the likely final. But we know cup competitions, it's never parallel. There'll always be twists and turns. But
See,
we will speak about
I,
the FA Cup draw in a bit. But just to focus on Liverpool, as to say, they're favourites. They won this League Cup. They're favourites for me at the minute, unless Man City get past Spurs. They're favourites for me. They won the FA Cup.
yeah,
they're favourites. They won the Europa League, and
Yeah.
you'd probably say they're second favourites, if not joint favourites with Man City. They won the Premier League. So I mean, how possible is it?
I just can't see us winning all 4. But see, I do think we'll win the League Cup, and I said we're going to win the league and the Europa League. So if you're going by my logic, we'll win 3 out of the 4. So I take that at the start of the season.
Mm-hmm. Closing thoughts again. Dean's just saying Arsenal leaning out and out striker. Do you just think that 20-30 goal scorer?
Yeah.
Arsenal should go for Ivan Toney this month. Could prove the difference. I think the problem there is FFP. They can't do it unless they sell.
I seen Tony's interview the other day, and I was probably saying that, but I think for him, I think he wants to finish the season at Brentford.
He owes them. He owes them, and I like to see that because they've stuck by him and they've paid his full wages too, apparently. So they've backed him. And if he keeps them up, because I did for Brentford, I says last week when in the predictions, I says if Tony doesn't come on and hit the ground running, they're in trouble because Mbuemo's a big miss and they haven't got natural goal scorers. James is asking you a question here. Owen, you can answer. Will Arsenal make a top 4?
I think they'll finish 3rd or 4th. They won't drop out.
If they saying we lost it with a better squad 2 years ago, never as easy as it looks, even with easy draws, could 1-2 realistically. We'll look at that FA Cup draw very shortly, Owen. Let's look at the weekend's games, the review, the action. Do you know what? I really enjoyed the FA Cup over the weekend. I thought it was brilliant to see.
When I was on here last, I was saying I didn't really care about the FA Cup, but see when you actually see your team playing it, and when we were getting piped in the first half, I was like, no, I really want us to win here now.
Well, that's it. I mean, I think it helped that there was a couple of big games on there. You know, Sunderland, Newcastle was a big occasion. Arsenal, Liverpool. I thought the fact that FA Cup games, you get the bigger allocation, the away end. When them goals and done, the roar of the fans, it was incredible. And that's what the FA Cup's all about. And I think it'll be a sad day to see someone like that, a competition like the FA Cup, sort of put to one side because of the money and the financial impacts of the European competitions, the Premier League. But one big talking point, Owen, was the fact that the Sunderland Newcastle game was on TV, the Middlesbrough Villa game was on TV. They didn't have VAR in their games. And I have to say, the referee got most of the big. I can't remember any clanners in them games. I think the referee done well. They let them go as well, which was good. There didn't seem to be as much stop-start because of the VAR. I mean, but the big talking point to come out of it was if the way it's worked is unless a Premier League team's at home, that's the only way we have VAR in the games.
Yeah.
So if a Championship team or below was home, there was no VAR used, even if they were playing a Premier League team. I mean, is that right? Should we not have an even keel for all the games?
I was just gonna come on that. If you can't have VAR because you're at a certain ground, you shouldn't have it in the competition. And for me, like I really enjoyed this week. Like the matches we know VAR. And to be fair, in the Liverpool Arsenal game and the Chelsea Preston game,
it just seemed to flow, but didn't they? It didn't seem to be as much stop-start.
It's just football. Football's just better without VAR. And I know we criticize referees, and I'm one of them. And I'm one of them. Like, but I said to you during the Liverpool Arsenal game, I thought the ref had a brilliant game. Obviously, he's going to make mistakes. Like, but I just think will say I just think VAR should be onside or offside, red card, no red card, not your bet. They shouldn't be getting into the wee panicky things as they do.
Because we've seen in the very first FA Cup game this weekend, Calvert-Lewin's tackle. I mean, referee sees it. Did he even give a foul? I don't even think he gave a foul.
No.
And then
I think it's been rescinded, hasn't it?
And then it was rescinded today, so it was embarrassing. And again, that's just somebody in a studio looking at 100 replays and slowing it down, and never a red card tackle.
And then that VAR who gave the red card was the referee for the Sunderland Newcastle. So like how I don't know.
I mean,
it was never a red card.
One of the things I also thought that was good about the games at no VAR was the referees seemed to make quicker and more positive decisions. You know, they didn't overthink it. They just gave what they and they purely, almost like a footballer playing a game, doing things naturally. These referees are professionals. They were doing their job professionally and without really having to think about stuff. And I think back to the penalty that Newcastle got was a stonewall penalty. Most of I can't think of any decisions in the Arsenal-Liverpool game which I thought were wrong. Obviously, you're going to get the Albi one where maybe in midfield where there's a coming together, and that's going to happen. But again, I just think everything seemed to be natural, and I thought it was a breath of fresh air. And I think a competition like the FA Cup, with the heritage, with the traditional side of it, I would just prefer if this had no VAR the whole way through. The argument will all be because there will be a game on there somewhere where there's a major decision that's wrong, and that's when people say, well, it should have VAR. So I think you have to accept it for what it is, just and that if you are going to, if a team gets to a final, let's say Liverpool are playing Man City in the final this year and they decide not to use VAR, they will use VAR, but if they didn't, and Man City score a goal, it's offside. Liverpool fans will be bemoaning the fact there's no VAR, so it's one of them things, isn't it?
It's sort of like you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't sort of situations. But I think I don't know. I just enjoyed it a lot more when there was no stop starts. There was no 300-year ticking for an offside decision. It's like when we go back to the Prem now at the weekend, Spurs score a goal with Timo Werner's like 2 miles offside or something. It's mental.
As they find the ball in the back of the net first, that's his biggest issue. Another big talking point to come out of the weekend, and this was something that's been talked about going into the weekend. 8 games now require replays out of the 32 ties. A lot of talk before this weekend that they should be scrapped. Next year, this will be the last year of replays. The replays only be up to round 4. From round 5 on, it's extra time and penalties. But I think it was Thomas Frank said after the Brentford game on Friday night that the replay was just not, and it doesn't benefit anybody. But they asked the Blackpool manager, who's actually a former Liverpool youth team coach, Critchley, do you play Nottingham Forest in a replay next week? And he says, look, get on with it. Championship teams play 46 games a season. They also play League Cup, FA Cup. They play League One teams, play League One, League Two, play that EFL trophy as well, 46 games. So, has there been too much made out of this, the replays? Because, it is traditional. And, the best team will usually win over 2 games instead of maybe going straight to a penalty shootout, where a team can hold out for 90 minutes on any given day and maybe nick a one on penalty. So, how do you see it?
Well, for the bigger teams, obviously, I didn't want a replay for the Arsenal game, and thankfully we didn't. But for the bigger teams, like, you should be good enough to get past. Like, I think it was Forest and Blackpool. Like, Forest should have enough to beat Blackpool. And fair play to Blackpool, they didn't. They went 2-0 up, and Forest came back. And it's just, if you're playing a team and if you're playing a low league team, you should be good enough to get past them. So for them types of situations, I can sort of see why the Blackpool managers go and get on with, but it doesn't benefit the big teams.
I guess the benefactor of replays is the cash injection it gives the lower league teams. So should they be robbed of that? They don't have a lot of money. Should they be robbed of that just because the big teams think we're playing too many games?
Brentford, if they finish, say Brentford finished 17th in the league, that's more money than Blackpool getting a replay in the FA Cup, which just shows the goal.
Interestingly, the Blackpool game here in League One, that game's been selected for TV coverage, Blackpool against Forest. So again, they're going to get a cash injection out of that, which they need. Next Tuesday, that game is. And the Wednesday night game is Bristol City against West Ham, so Championship against Premier League. Anybody watching, feel free to give your views on the replays. But again, the two replays selected didn't involve a non-league team, and there was a massive outcry. I remember when the TV selections were made. We had Crystal Palace against Everton, Spurs against Burnley, which aren't glamour games. Even if they were playing in the Premier League, then games probably wouldn't be selected for TV in the Premier League. So why were they maybe selected for the FA Cup? And everybody was saying it's a shame we couldn't see the likes of Maidstone, Swann over Stevenage. We couldn't see Eastleigh holding Newport to a draw with 10 men. I mean, do you think that it's very difficult for these non-league teams? They have to start. You have to start before round one, if they qualify, and then they play round one, round two, round three. Once they get to round three and they draw a team, even if it is a League Two team or a League One team, should they be automatically selected for TV? Because it gives them a massive cash injection, and you could argue that they've earned that right because against all the odds, they've qualified for round three.
I think that's the fairest way to do it, because to be fair, like I did watch the Spurs Burnley game on Friday night.
Well, to be fair, see the Sunderland Newcastle game I was watching, but once Newcastle get the second goal right after the second half, I knew the game was over. I watched the second half of Maidstone against Stevenage.
I would prefer to watch that
on my Fire Stick, because I was only able to get it, but it was brilliant to watch. I think a lot of football fans would have liked to see that game.
Yep. When you see the likes of Spurs Burnley on TV, like you see that every other week. Well, not that particular game, but you see types of games like that. Spurs Burnley, that'll be on TV once in a season when Burnley are up. Like you see them types of games like Crystal Palace and Everton, that'll be on Sky or TNT at some point. So when you're seeing teams like Maidstone and Stevenage, like when I turned on to check a score and I saw Maidstone 1-0 up, and I was like, no, what, fair play, but I would love to be sitting watching it right now. And I guarantee if Wrexham had a drew Man United, that would have been a big TV because of the American owner. So that's a low league team that would get TV because of the backing.
Well, the thing, Wrexham have drew Blackburn away and Maidstone have drew Ipswich away, so they're only playing Championship. There's a chance that might not be selected for TV because I'm sure they're going to want Chelsea Villa. They're going to want Spurs, Man City. I think if Bristol Rovers beat Liverpool, they'll have to show Liverpool's game against Bristol Rovers because it's League One going to Anfield. Yeah. Fulham, Newcastle will draw interest. So again, there's a possibility some of these ties against Newport or Eastleigh against Man United will be shown. So there's a good chance there's a good chance Ipswich against Maidstone and the R1 Blackburn Wrexham, for example. Maybe both of them might not be shown, or maybe only one of them are selected. And that will be round 4. So that will be another missed opportunity. So, personally, I think I know Wrexham are League 2 now, so definitely Maidstone, I think they would definitely need to be showing that game with Ipswich. Even though it's only Championship, I still think, that's a big opportunity, and Maidstone should get the TV money.
You're saying it's only Championship, and it is, but look how good Ipswich are doing this season, and quite possibly they could be in the Premier League next season. So I would love to see Maidstone on TV, because it's one of them. That's what the FA Cup's all about, isn't it? A team like Maidstone, I think they're the worst team in the competition. I think.
Worst ranked, but I think the problem you've got here is if they aren't selected this time, I think it's going to be very unlikely they go away to Ipswich and get a 1 or get a draw and beat them at home. So this is possibly their last opportunity to get that TV money.
Yeah, so I would like to see it selected, and I have a feeling it will be.
Those selections are due, I think, by the end of the week.
I definitely one of the games that'll definitely be on TV is Spurs, Man City, and I think the United game against Eastland or Newport will be on TV.
Will definitely be on as well.
And then maybe Liverpool.
I think Liverpool's game, because they have to announce them by the end of, I think it's by Friday. Obviously, they won't know the outcome of the replay games, but I think they will have to take a chance, because if Liverpool were to play Bristol Rovers, I think, again, that would be a game they would be showing. So I think that will be selected. So it'll be interesting to see. Callum's just replied back. He's saying that, Brentford wasn't that long ago. They were in League One, and it was really bad taste from Frank, and you shouldn't rob the lower league team's opinion of replay. I agree. And James Keenan saying, I just don't understand why the BBC and ITV can have their own sports channels. He's right. Maybe show more games. I know BBC did show a couple on the red button, but again, it was games. It was Man City against Huddersfield and Chelsea against Preston. So again, the lower league teams were forgotten about. Let's talk about that FA Cup fourth round draw, because there were some big ties. First of all, I actually fancied Spurs Liverpool, and you know what, it was very close because Liverpool come out It was Liverpool against Norwich across the Rovers, and Spurs were actually the next ball pulled out
Yeah.
after that and drew Man
Well,
City.
you said to me you're confident. I said, who do you think Spurs are getting? You said it doesn't matter as long as we're at home. So
Exactly, you always want a home draw. And Man City don't have the best record away at Spurs, as we said earlier on. It probably is the tie of the round because it is, champions Man City against Spurs, and the fact they had that 3-3 game a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
Well, it's about 4 weeks ago now. And Spurs will be looking stronger when they play Man City this time. You remember the team that played at Man City? It was missing a lot of key players. We'll still be missing a few with that tournament. But Madison might well be back for this game. Van de Ven will be back for this game. Timo Werner looks to be close. It looked today that they were going to get another centre back on, but Bayern Munich have come on with an 11 for Bud. So we'll have to keep an eye on that one.
I'll be calling him Timo Nunez in a minute.
So, what was your thoughts on the draw? Especially that game. How do you see that game, Spurs Man City?
It's gonna. I think it'll be another mad scoring. I wouldn't be surprised if it went there replay. Back at the back the Etihad. But no,
it's one of them games. And I think this will be great for the FA Cup. I just think both teams will have to go full strength because Spurs will definitely not rest players because they'll see the FA Cup as a chance of silverware, and Man City probably can't take the chance that they can't really play a second string. So I would imagine Man City to go strong.
To be fair, Man City's second string's probably pretty strong.
No, it's strong, but I still think they'll have all their big hitters out because they'll want to get through.
When I saw Spurs Man City, my first thought was right, one of these is going out. So
and then Chelsea are playing Aston Villa. So as we said, does that leave Liverpool now as favourites?
I think it all comes down to the Spurs City game. If Man City won, I'd say they're favourites. They won it. If Spurs won it, I'd say we are.
You wouldn't fear having to play Spurs?
No, but I think that would be another mad game, and I would if it was no.
James is up on a Spurs one.
If we drew Spurs, if we drew them at Anfield, that would definitely be fancying our chances. But if it was at your ground, I still have PTSD from the first time we were there this season, so I'd be a bit worried about that.
I just have a feeling for Spurs in that FA Cup game. I'm looking forward to it actually, and we've a big game this weekend against United. But I'm really looking forward to that. And as I said, I would rather play Man City at home than have to play them away, which could happen if we have to do a replay, or play them at Wembley on a even bigger pitch.
Yeah.
I would rather play them now.
When are them ties? Are they in February or are they this month?
They are at the end of the month. It's weekend of the 27th. As he says, the schedule should be released by Friday. I would imagine Spurs Man City will be the 4:30 game on the Sunday.
If Liverpool's on TV, I could see it being like a Friday night or a 12:30.
I think they're likely to be a 12:30, and maybe that gives Preston Rovers a big advantage, does it?
Don't start me.
Chelsea Villa, who are the favourites in that game? Villa won Stamford Bridge earlier this season.
I would say I know Villa won at Stamford Bridge, but I would say Chelsea just because they're at home. If Villa were at home, I'd be saying it's a Villa all day. But it depends too, because Chelsea could be have a semi-final tonight, and then they could have a final they look forward to. So the cup competitions could be a big opportunity for Chelsea to get into Europe. So they'll go full strong as well, I think.
Just you say about Chelsea playing the cup tonight, that's what we're going to focus on. League Cup preview. Obviously Middlesbrough, Chelsea tonight.
Come on, Middlesbrough.
Liverpool tomorrow night, first leg, so it won't be done tonight unless there's a big scoreline involved. These ties should be decided in the second legs, as we say, unless there's a massive scoreline one way they are. And the game has just kicked off here, so we'll if anyone's actually watching, just keep us an eye on the score before we finish. Middlesbrough, they pushed Aston Villa all the way in that cup tie on Saturday, and it took a very, very fortunate deflection. They beat them. And you could argue Villa's a better side than Chelsea. On the league table, you would say that, anyway. Is this as easy as people are making out? Is this a sticky tie for Chelsea?
No game's ever easy, but I think Chelsea should have enough quality to get. If it was a one-off game, I would give Middlesbrough more of a chance. Because next season, I think it's only going to be one leg at semi-finals in the League Cup. But because it's a two-legged tie and Chelsea are at home in the second leg, I can't see any way Chelsea don't face Liverpool in the final. Hopefully.
Well, you're already saying they're facing Liverpool in the final. They play Fulham twice. And that kicks off tomorrow night. At the same time at Anfield first. I mean, how nervous would you be if Liverpool say won the game 2-1 tomorrow night, and you were going to Fulham with a slender advantage? I mean, ideally you want to see a 3-0 tomorrow night. That's tie over.
Yeah, I want to do your West Ham. I want to go on. I want to 5-1 first, or was it 5-1 first leg? Happy days. See,
How nervous would you be, for example, if they were having an off day in front of goal again, and it was say 0-0 or a 1-1? Would you be thinking that that's a very, very difficult game in the second leg?
even if it is tight, I still would fancy us to go through. But Fulham away is a tough place to go. Like, but I'll be hoping for, as you say, even a 2 goal advantage. I would take going into it. But if we can get a 3 goal advantage, I'd be more than happy with that.
So who's playing in the final then at the end of February?
Hopefully Middlesbrough and Liverpool, but I can only see Liverpool Chelsea. And if you were to ask me now, Liverpool Chelsea final, it's going all the way to penalties again. It always seems to happen with us two in the final.
I think Chelsea would take that all day. Let's look ahead to the Premier League this weekend. Obviously, it's a very next 2 weekends. It's going to be a very broken schedule. 5 games this weekend, 5 games next weekend. All 5 games this weekend and all 5 games next weekend are televised. I mean, so basically you're only taking out the 3 o'clock games. There's no 3 o'clock games. I think this weekend it's a Friday night and then a Saturday lunchtime, Saturday evening, 2 on Sunday. And then the following week it's 2 Saturday, 2 Sunday, and 1 on the Monday. So, but one thing I thought about when I looked at this, and I was thinking about the teams, especially like Liverpool involved in cup action and teams having to play replays, is it's not really a break, is it? There's 1 weekend off for a lot of teams. I know Spurs are going to have 2 weeks off because they're not involved in the cups and there's no replays, for example. Some teams like Liverpool are only getting 1 weekend off. I mean, you look at the likes of the Our Leagues, they're having 2-3 week breaks. And they say this is why when the Euros comes around at the end of the year that a lot of the England players, they be burnt out and they aren't fresh. Whereas the European teams that have a lot of the likes of your Germanys and your Spains and your Italy's they have more substance in terms of going far in tournaments than England have. I know England have done it recently, but up until that they've been struggling. So I mean, is it long enough for you? Should we be having maybe two weekends off each?
I think it should be 2 weeks. I do, just as much as I love watching my football. Like, I think it should be 2 weeks because the amount of football they have to play between the period of before Christmas and the New Year's mental, and players will break down. And you made a good point about England there. Look at Saka already. He's bit. Anthony Gordon.
He could be a month off, couldn't he?
Anthony Gordon was the same last week against Liverpool. People were just running past him, and it was just like, I run. I don't care. But for me, if it was up to me, I'd be making it a 2 week break.
I'm looking ahead to the weekend. We've got a big game on Sunday at 4:30, and we will be previewing this game on Thursday or Friday night in more depth. So we're not going to spend too much time on it now. But I mean, the word is today that United are going to have a few back. Shaw's back, possibly Maguire back. Spurs, Van de Ven could be back, but the likes of Madison won't make it back towards the end of the month, start of February. I think Solomon's on his way back, but may not be ready for this game as well.
I forgot he played for you.
Exactly, another option off the bench because they've been very, very limited. I think Ben Davis has got puck up an injury, so Spurs again probably not at full strength, and they've have a few players away at the AFCON and Asian Cup. You might have to play Werner again, but again, this probably won't be done tomorrow for Werner, and he won't have a lot of training with the group. The centre back situation, maybe Bayern Munich come on, is a complicated thing. So even if he does end up at Spurs, I find it very unlikely he's going to be ready this weekend. So we need to get some players back, and Spurs still missing a few. Are they hitting Spurs at possibly the right time?
Probably, but you don't know what Man United turn up either. Like, I seen a quote yesterday. I don't know if you've seen it. I probably shared it on my Facebook. Ten Hag said United still have the Premier League to play for, and I went, "Are you on drugs?"
I think he means maybe trying to get into Europe, but I don't think he means competing at the top.
No, like as you say, I know they were only playing Wigan last night. They probably the chances they were missing, they should have won that by 4, 5, 6. There's they probably are hitting Spurs at a good time, and Spurs again have. It seems to be when Spurs do get players back, another few be off injured. So it seems to be that type.
International tournaments in the middle of the season.
It seems to be that type of season where Spurs are never going to have a fully fit squad. But if
how do you see that game going at the weekend?
I fancy a draw, to be honest.
I
would say 1-1 for me.
I think we have to be careful. Spurs, they look at this in isolation and think, you know what? I know United haven't been great this season, but if we were to go here, we fair few players mustn't get a draw. It's not the worst result in the world. Liverpool are at home, so I mean, if they were to get they beat United of the season at home, so if they would get 4 points out of United, I don't think that's a bad return.
And the high line he's played could play into their hands too, because if he plays Rashford, like he's quick, like, and he can.
James is saying he doesn't care who's back for United. Spurs will have him all day. I hope so, James.
I think it's because United are at home. If Spurs were at home, I would say Spurs won, but I can only see it being a draw, to be honest.
Score prediction?
1-1.
1-1. I'll think about my prediction and I'll give you it on Thursday or Friday. And thanks for coming on. Been a really good show. Not as long as last week, obviously, because we've all been in our show this week and we're looking ahead to the Premier League action. This weekend.
Be glad they don't have to listen to me for an extra hour.
Preview and in depth that United Spurs game and looking at the rest of the weekend's game, including Everton Villa, which will be a very good game. Newcastle Man City. So some big games this weekend. I think out of the 2 weekends, there's more better games this weekend than next weekend. So
I know Liverpool Bournemouth could be an interesting watch.
But you look at them games: Newcastle City, Everton Villa, Spurs, United. They're
as much as
well, that's that. Spurs haven't been at their best in the last few games. Now that's what worries me.
As much as Newcastle have been terrible, like I'd be praying that they at least get a draw on Saturday.
You have to think that Newcastle's luck's going to turn at some stage, and you never get an easy game. I know Forest went there and won, but I think that caught them be surprised. I think they'll be right up for that Man City game, so that'll be interesting. And thanks for coming on. Got free loads. We'll probably be back on next week, reviewing the rest of these games. I think I've got a United fan coming on Thursday or Friday, so we'll be looking ahead to the weekend's games.
I forgot to say to you before we go. Stefan's been very quiet these past few days. I
was chatting to him there on Sunday night. He's not a happy man, and he says he will be back on at the end of the month. They tackle on Darren for that Arsenal Liverpool preview. So that'll be interesting to see what kind of shape both teams are in, because there is a fair few games we've seen now. And that game, so it really could look different. We know this season that things change very, very quickly.
I'll be praying that Egypt lose all their games.
That's that. The African Cup of Nations, Asian Cup. I wouldn't mind South Korea having a stinker in the group and getting knocked out, but very unlikely. If you're new around here, make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel for more content. We'll see you towards the end of the week when we look ahead to the weekend's games. Thanks again, Owen. I'll see you soon.
All right.